Okay, it's recording, Mom.
You remember?
Let me put this where we can get the whole story.
Okay, after Daddy died, your daddy died, I dreamed that I was in a huge building, but I was outside this building, and there was wide steps, like stairway. It was probably 10, 15 steps wide, and people were coming down, and some were going up. And I was going up, and I said, please let me go. I gotta go see my husband up there. I gotta go see Henry. So somehow there was a little space for me to go. And when I reached to the top, there was must have been an angel or somebody. I said, I'm here to speak to my husband, to Henry Forti. Henry Forti, I said. He said that he's over there, right over there. It was on this side. So I looked, and he was sitting on the bench, and looked on the other side. He was reading something, and he was dressed all in white.
Yeah.
And so I stood there, I looked at him, and I didn't want to disturb him because he was in so much peace. He was reading. He didn't pay attention to me or anything. So anyhow, I woke up. Another time I dreamed that he had this bulldozer, and he was making the road wide and wide. The impression I had, he was widening the road for you guys, for us to go through that road, and we didn't have to worry because, God is the principle of everything, and it made the road wide and clean,
Easy
so
to
we
travel.
could go through.
Easy, yeah.
So we could go through. Another time, probably a year or 2 or 3 years later, or longer, I dreamed that I was with a lot of people in a big room. Everybody were talking, and I saw Daddy with the brown suit this time he had. And he said, I said, wait, and then we look at each other, but then he turned away. He turned it to go away. He was walking away. I said, wait, don't leave, wait for me. He said, take care of your husband.
Oh, he did.
So at that time, I wasn't married to nobody else yet.
Oh,
So what he meant, you're gonna find
Yeah.
somebody else, and I'm gonna find a husband. And that's what I remember for now.
okay.
But
Thank
my
you.
father
Okay,
was.
one more, what?
Yeah, one
Tell me,
more.
what's
But
your-
well, that I told you about, but if you
Tell
want
us
to
again.
No,
Yeah,
but
tell
don't
us.
let her worry about the cameras. That'll stress her out.
Oh, okay.
Just talk normal. I don't matter where.
Yeah, well, yeah, my father, like I said, but now we tape it. Because we were walking together, and he wore a beautiful suit, and he looked so very young. And I said, but Tata, what are you doing walking here with me? You're dead. He said, no, I'm not dead. According to you, don't understand, I'm dead, but I'm not. I'm not dead. So then I was climbing that bus, and he was there, and I said, well, what are you doing here in this bus? He said, wherever you go, I go.
That's a good story.
And that was the end of that. I had a lot of other dreams, but this moment I don't remember. But about my mother I never met.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what
Okay.
I
My first mom, okay. I was 7 years old, and I was sitting on the chair. I remember I was sitting on the chair lower than this, and a woman was sit like there, in front of me. And I had my hands open, and she opened her hand, and she put her hands on top of my hands. And she looked at me. She looked so beautiful. But I didn't know that moment it was my mom. She looked so beautiful and very young. When we die, first of all, we don't gonna die. Our soul will never die. But anyhow, when we get our body back, we're gonna all look young. Anyhow, she looked at me and I looked at her. She smiled at me and I smiled. And that's it. I woke up. Then in the morning, a few days later, I asked my father, I told him about the dream, and he said, what dress was she wearing? I said, blue. And he said, that's the dress she wore when she was buried
Oh my God.
Wow.
in the casket. Yeah,
Wow.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
But this year you have to tape.
What?
When I came out of convent, I was very sick, okay, that's why they sent me back. And I took a lot of medication through the doctor and I got well again. I wanted to go back to convent. I was 20. I was 17 when I went in, I was 20 when I came out. And then at 21 I tried to go back and they won't take me. Now, as you know, guys, I have a sister. Well, she just died a couple of years ago, but my sister Sudine, in her she kept write to me, come to America. But I said, I don't want to go to America. I wanted to go back to convent. So I was trying to argue with myself, how can I do this? I asked the priest in Bisang, they said, you talk to those people in the convent to take me back. He did. They said, they don't want you back
Huh.
because you're too
Sick.
delicate,
You're too sick.
sickly.
Too
Yeah.
sickly.
So what happened was my second mom, Anna was her name, and we were in the kitchen, and all at once a woman appeared there with, she was dressed in brown, and she had a bag on her right arm, and she had, her hair was pulled back.
Is this a dream or this is real?
No, this is real.
Okay.
So it was pulled back, and she kept looking at me a lot of times, like if she knew us. And then she said to my mother, she said, would you send your daughter, like she knew. We never saw her before. We thought it was somebody who comes around for charity. And my mom gave her something, a piece of bread, to put it in her sack, whatever. So anyhow, she said that, she asked my mom, would you send your daughter, like she knew what was her daughter, to help me. And she walked so slow. She walked like this, even though she didn't look very old. So my mother said, no, I don't think I want to send her. My mother was very protective. So I said, please, Mom, let me go. So we went, and she put her left arm around my shoulder. And first of all, I said, can I carry your sack? She said, no, no, no. And she put her left arm around my shoulder. And she said, did you lose someone? I said, well, I lost my mom when I was 4 days old. She didn't respond to that, like it seems she already knew everything. So we walked a little longer, and then she said, okay, oh, and she said, what do you want in life? What do you want? I said, I want to go back to convent, and they don't want me. And she said, well, you don't going to go back to convent. God's will is that you go to America. You're going to get married, you're going to have children, you're going to be okay. And I argued with her. I said, no, I don't want to go to America. I want to become a nun. She said, you got to do God's will. God's will is that you go to America. That's what I remember. Then we walked a little, this is not a dream, this is real.
Okay.
We walked a little longer, maybe from here to the outside. It was this huge, big field, open field. In fact, Loretta took a picture when we went
Oh, did
there.
she?
Yeah. And so this lady said, okay, I want you to turn around. This word turn around stuck in my mind. You see her saying, go home. She said, first, turn around and go home. I said, well, I want to help you a little more. There was a road up on the top there.
Did she walk
So-
hard for her to walk?
Very, very slow. She walked so slow. And in no way I thought she would take 2 hours for her to get to the top of that slope. Soft slope. And I said, let me help you, little father. She said, no, you go home. Turn around and go home. So I said, okay. I turned around. I walked a little bit and around a little bit. Then I turned around to say goodbye again, and she wasn't there.
She disappeared.
She was completely gone,
Wow.
disappeared.
What was the last thing she said to you? You're going to go to the United States?
Yeah, I thought she said you were going to go to the United States to be successful.
She didn't say successful.
What did she say?
She said, you go to America. It's God's will that you go to America. You're gonna get married, and you're gonna have children, and you're gonna be fine.
Oh, okay, fine.
That's what she
Well, that's
said.
good.
And then
But
what?
she just disappeared.
She disappeared.
She couldn't, you could, there's
Completely
no way she
gone.
could walk fast.
So you turned around and then what happened?
I turned around and said goodbye again, you know, like.
Yeah, just took a couple steps and turned around and
Yeah.
said goodbye, and she was
Took
gone.
a few steps.
And then what
maybe five
happened? When you turned around and you saw she was gone, what did you do?
I looked, and I got scared. So I ran like heck. I ran home, and my mom saw me, and she said, "What's wrong? You look so pale. You look like you saw a ghost."
Oh.
But I never told her this to my
I
mother.
told her.
Wow.
I told her later. When I was in America, I told my sisters. I never told my mother. The reason I didn't tell her because she didn't want me to go.
Yeah.
And I was, for some reason, when I was 20, my mind was like 15. Raised in the farm. Well, I was in Carmen, but there what you do, you go to school and pray, which is beautiful to pray. So that was a quite unique experience. And with you, Tony, now is that long enough?
It's not on anymore. I'm joking. It's on. It's on.
All right. With you, Tony, when Tony was born, and this is a little funny too, because I was very happy, my second son, and so Daddy came to see me. First the doctor came in. Later, I think it was the next day, the doctor came to see me, and at that time you stay in the hospital 6 days if you have a baby.
Mom, stop moving your feet like that.
Oh, okay. So anyhow, the doctor came and he said, well, your baby is okay. He just needs a surgery, a small surgery. I said, oh, okay. So then Daddy came to visit me. The doctor already told him, the doctor told Daddy the truth. He said, that's a big surgery that your baby needs, Tony, okay? But Daddy won't tell me. So I kept the secret. I didn't tell Daddy that the doctor told me that the baby needs a mild surgery. And Daddy didn't tell me either. So we went on, tried to hide something. Then Jeanette, my cousin Jeanette, came to visit me. She was so sad. And I said, what's wrong with you? Why are you so sad? I have a beautiful baby boy. Oh, she said, she called me Betty. Oh, Betty, I pray about it. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. I said, what are you talking about? She said, but your baby. I said, oh, he only needs a little minor surgery. The doctor's going to take care of it. So that's what I believed. After the 6 days I was there, the doctor said, well, you take the baby home, go home, you can go home today. I said, well, what do you mean? Why don't you do the surgery here before we go home? He said, I can't do the surgery. I said, well, why not? He said, the baby you got to take the baby to the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, yes, spinal bifida. I said, well, what's that? Well, he tried to explain, but still couldn't understand. So anyhow, I'm on the old, and we took you to the hospital.
Was his spine exposed at the time?
No, was not.
Just had a lump, right?
Yeah.
Just a lump on the bottom.
Yeah, it was a lump like this, at the end of the spine. But still didn't understood
The severity
the
of it.
severity of it. So we went there to the hospital to bring the baby, and this room was a room there with a little boy, must have been about 9 years old, and the crib for my baby was on the other side of the wall, but I was scared that this little boy is going to go there and hurt my baby. For some reason I was scared. So anyhow, so the nurse said, okay, I'll be right back, I got to get a diaper for the baby. When she went got to the diaper, Tony pee. She went almost to the ceiling. Anyhow, I never took it serious, and because I didn't know the evidence of it. So it was about a week or two later after we left the baby. First of all, we came there just about once a week. But they said that you were going to have surgery. So I called the nurse. First they had to find out everything, what was wrong. I called and somebody answered the phone. I said, I'd like to speak to Dr. Spitz. And she said, oh, no one speaks to Dr. Spitz. I said, well, what do you mean? My baby's there. He's taking care of my baby. And she said, I'll tell you about your baby, whatever is wrong. I said, what's wrong? She said, he needs 2 surgeries. And one of those surgeries is going to kill your baby. And nowadays
nice
they are
thing
not
to say.
allowed to that, to say that. Well, all at once I lost my sense. I kept screaming and screaming. I was all alone in that big house in Palmyra.
Palmyra, yeah.
Yeah, it was in Palmyra. And I was in the kitchen at that time. I kept screaming and screaming. Then I started calling people. I called, and Josie, I called Aunt Mel. I said, my baby's dying. I called the people I didn't even know.
What did Aunt Mel say when you called her?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But I called the doctor, and the nurse answered. The doctor, our family doctor, was very close to our house.
This is not
And the nurse said, well, he's busy with the patient. I said, tell him this is Elisabeth Forti. And he came to the phone.
Is that Dr. Kaufman?
That's Hoffman. He died. He died.
Okay, tell him.
But anyhow, he came to the phone. I said, Doctor, my baby's dying. Now the other people I hung up. So they said, my baby's dying, I hung up. But Dr. Hoffman, I think he cried too, in fact, with me. And then we talked a little bit. I don't remember what we said. And then the last I talked to was the priest from Hershey. I called him. He was a Monsignor. And I said, he said, can I help you? I said, my baby's dying. But I didn't hang up. So then he started to say, I would pray for you. Anyhow, finally we hung up and I kept screaming. And all at once I heard the voice, pray, pray. And I looked around. I said, who's talking to me? Then I realized, must be somebody, an angel, whatever. So I ran in the living room because, and Teresa and her husband, when Daddy and me got married, they gave us the statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And Daddy made a little altar. I think it was a crucifix there. I ran over there. Joey was upstairs. That was that big house.
Yes.
I think it was 4,000 square feet home. So Joey could hear me scream, but later he told me. So anyhow, I went there, I knelt down, and I said, please, Blessed Mother, please ask your son Jesus to heal my baby. And I stopped there, and all at once, I felt that somebody up there put a bucket of oil. I say oil because it came down slowly.
Felt like oil.
Slowly, very, very slow. All over my face, all over. I could feel all over my body, each inch of my body, all the way. I kept knelt down. I didn't move, all the way to my feet. And then I got up. I stood up. I knew that my baby was healed. So then the people I called, Uncle Mario, they kept saying, oh, don't worry, we pray. They thought I went crazy. So everybody that I called just about came over. I think Aunt Teresa was the first one, and Uncle Mario. And Uncle Mario said, don't worry, we're going to pray for you. I said, Mario, my baby's here, because I was smiling. They thought, they came there, they expected me to keep on yelling.
Yeah.
But no, I was smiling. I was so assured. I was so assured that my baby was healed. Now, they did do the surgery, and they found even worse. They found a tumor, and I would never ask if that tumor was cancerous. In fact, I think Daddy asked, but the doctor said, Mrs. Forti, take this baby home and love it. That's the words he told me. But 2 years later, we took you back to Dr. Spitz, and you were walking. Dr. Spitz, I couldn't believe what he was seeing. And he called the nurse. He called the nurse on the thing there, microphone, whatever it was. And the room got almost filled with the nurse.
The Dr. Spitz is the surgeon.
Yeah, he was
Surgeon, the operator.
Yeah, Dr. Spitz was the surgeon. He was so busy, nobody could talk to
What
him.
did he say?
He called the nurse and he said, I want to show you a miracle here, what happened. And so, and maybe you were walking everywhere. So he looked at me, the doctor looked at me and he said, Mrs. Forti, the Lord has been very good to you. And the thing is, Dr. Spitz had a daughter who was born with spinal bifida. and didn't even have a tumor, so you were worse than
What happened to her daughter? His daughter, she died?
No,
Oh.
it was crippled, completely
Oh, my
crippled.
God.
Most people are.
And or they die or they are crippled. So that was truly a miracle.
Yes.
Because at that time, this was a
60s, yeah.
62. You know, they just, you know. So that was truly a miracle. Yes, yes. So the Lord healed you that time and now too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to understand what.
I want to tell you the story about where we were first started off about people and wearing white and people coming back after you dream and when they die and then you dream about that person, like the first dream. Remember Jim Kaiser, the one that had the bag on the side and he said don't eat seeds because they'll get stuck in you and then you'll have a bag like this?
Yeah.
Well, you know, he never needed a bag. The doctor made a big mistake and put that bag on him for 2 years. So he won $500,000 settlement because of that. And as soon as he won that settlement, he bought a Mercedes, one like yours, a used Mercedes. Then he bought simple things. He didn't spend it all, and he put it all in the trust fund for his daughter. And then he had a bad disease from smoking cigarettes where his veins were like weak, and his veins would burst. One time a vein burst in his leg a year before he died, and he almost bled to death. And it burst inside his leg, and he lost blood pressure and everything. And they had to cut his leg open, and he died like 3 times on the operating table. So I remember him coming in and goes, yeah, look, I almost died. And he pulled his pants down, and he's showing me this big scar, and I go, oh. And he goes, yeah. So then Jim used to come to the yard like once a month at least, every month. Yeah, so.
Yeah, the little girl.
Beautiful daughter. I can't remember her name, but.
Kylie.
No, it wasn't Kylie. No, I don't remember her name, but she was beautiful. Anyways, he told me, he came in one day to the junkyard and he was real serious, straight faced, and he had brand new shoes on, and he goes, they're going to take my legs this weekend. And it was like Wednesday. And I go, wow. You know, he just dropped this big, heavy information on my head. And he looked kind of depressed, and I said, well, how are you going to get upstairs? You know, your apartment's upstairs. He was the manager of the apartment complex. So he didn't have to pay any rent. That was the deal. He hadn't had to pay any rent, but he had to collect all the rent from all big, huge apartment complex. So I was thinking, how are you going to handle this, you know? So he said, he didn't say anything about how he's going to handle anything. Then he said, they're going to take my legs this weekend. And I said, wow. And I remember he had brand new shoes on, and then he left. He didn't stay but 20 minutes, and he left. And he looked like he had a lot on his mind. Of course, they're going to take his legs. So we never seen him again. And like 2 months go by, and a customer came to the yard and said, hey, told Sam, who was working for me, he said, hey man, Jim Kaiser, they found him dead in his apartment that same week. So like on Friday he died. I think he took a bunch of pills and just killed himself because he didn't want to be without his legs.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I said, like, how are you going to survive without your legs? And he never answered that question. You know?
Did you dream about him?
Then I dreamt about him about 2 or 3 months after he died, and he had about a year after he died, I had a dream. And his shoes the brand new shoes he had were all dirty. And he was telling me something about something, and I go, Jim, where have you been? You've been somewhere because your shoes are all dirty. When I seen you last, your shoes are brand new. Don't you know you're dead? And he goes, I can't tell you. He told me. And that's all he said. He said, I can't tell you. But he sounded real.
I wonder if he knows he's dead.
He knew. But he definitely knew he was dead. But he couldn't tell. He's not dead. Say it. The thing is, he's not dead. What he wanted to tell me is he's not dead, but he can't tell me.
Oh, I see. Yeah, he can't.
He says, I can't tell you because I looked at his shoes and they're all dirty. And he smiled at me. I go, where have you been? You've been everywhere in those shoes. They're all wore out. And he smiled. He goes, I can't tell you. You know, like it's a good thing, but he can't tell me.
See, the thing is, in reality, our soul never dies because God created our soul. If our soul dies, means God dies.
No, yeah.
God never dies, our soul never dies. And let me tell you another thing, and then we gotta do some work around it. Okay, you already know, but we're gonna tape it.
Okay.
Mike has been bothering me about the tape. Okay. When I say about 13 or 14 years old, before I went to convent, okay, I used to go visit my sister that got married, and I had fever.
What was her name?
Norina, she just died a couple
Oh, the
years
nun.
ago.
Was it the nun?
No,
Okay.
the nun is Natalina. Anyhow, I had fever every day over my sister. I loved to stay with my sister. She was like my third mother to me. Anyhow, I had fever every day a little bit. So she sent me home. And one day, my father gave each one a chore to do. And he told me I was supposed to take care of the sheep, that was my chore. I used to take care of sheep a lot of times. So I just didn't feel good, and I said to my mom, I said, my stepmother, she was wonderful, the most wonderful woman in the world. And I said, Mom, I don't feel good. She touched my forehead, and she said, you have a fever pretty hot. I said, well, what am I going to do? I got to take the sheep out. She said, don't worry about it, you go to bed. So anyhow, I went to bed, and I didn't get up for 18 days.
Oh my God.
So my father brought the doctor, and the doctor said that I had bronchitis, intestinal, what do you call it?
Infection?
Infection, double pneumonia, and what do you call the other thing?
Typhoid fever.
Typhoid fever. That's a big thing.
Yes, I heard this story.
So the doctor said, well, give her tea.
What does that mean?
The tea, you know, the tea
Iced
to
tea.
drink, not ice. We didn't have
Hot tea,
ice.
I mean hot tea.
Just to give her tea. So they gave me tea. I could not move from one side to the other in bed. Then I couldn't talk. And my mom used to talk in my ears. She said, pray, pray, that God will heal you. But I couldn't understand what prayer anymore because you
How
don't
old were
think.
you?
About 13 and a half, maybe 14. So then I must have got even worse. So my father went and got to, or whoever, went and got to the doctor. And the doctor, I found out later, told my father and my mother, she's gonna die tonight. So by tomorrow morning she'll be dead. So I remember the room because I could see, I could turn my head a little bit like this, but I couldn't turn my body. And I could hear, but I didn't have no emotion. I think I was in a, what they call it?
Coma,
In a
like
coma.
almost comatose. Almost.
Most of the time I had my eyes closed, but I remember that I saw those people and I saw my father crying, my mom, my sisters. And I don't know why they were crying, so anyhow, in the morning I was still alive. But what I saw is, and I don't know if it was that night, it must be the same night, I mean if I was in a coma, what I remember through all of this, that at the foot of the bed where I was, I saw a man dressed in white. I could just see all the way here because there was the bed, all the way to the waist. He was dressed in white robe, had long hair, split in the middle up here, and it came down all the way to his shoulder. He had a very serious but beautiful peace in his face. It looked so wonderful. And he went like this with his arm, with the right arm. He stretched out his right arm and pulled him back to himself. 3 times he did that. My understanding at that moment, in fact I said to him in my mind, I can't sit up or get up, I can't move. But 3 times he went like this. And I think that's when Jesus healed me.
Did you
And
see
I don't know if it was the next day or whatever, I tried to get up